Hi again. In this video, I'm going to go over with you the process that you will use for this first draft of your research paper. As I mentioned in the previous video, it's a color-coded research paper, and this will help you blend your sources into your essay. The first thing that you want to do is to create an outline like we've done for other writing. You want to include in your outline a hook, a thesis statement, a topic sentence for each body paragraph, and evidence from your research that supports each topic. In order to do this completely, you need to have done research already. However, you could be working on parts of your outline as you do your research. If you write sentences for the different parts of the outline, you will find drafting the paper will be easier. This is especially the case for, at least initially, for the thesis and the topic sentence. The evidence, you want to include enough of the evidence in your outline that you know what information you're referring to. And initially, you might just want to include a phrase or the name of the source so that you can go back and add that information. But eventually, you'll want to write out into sentence form how you're going to express that part of the essay. The information that follows this slide explains how you will color code the draft. Probably most importantly are the red sentences, and this is why this is in red letters to help you remember that your thesis statement and all topic sentences should be red. You're going to put them into red text. And if you haven't done that before, you'll be highlighting the text and then using red from the drop-down menu. Next are yellow sentences. You will put your quotes in yellow. Remember, you're only going to have, 4 or 5 of them. One thing to note about yellow. Yellow itself does not show up well enough for me to read. So instead of using yellow, use something close to it like orange, or an alternative would be to keep the black text color and highlight in yellow, and I'll be able to read that. If you remember from our previous video, I explained that most of the information from your research is going to be paraphrases. And paraphrases for this particular draft will be in purple. Next, you'll have green sentences. Excuse me. Green sentences are really explanation. They allow you to provide explanation, discussion, expansion of each idea from your paraphrases and your quotes. You could look at it as an explanation for that quote, for that paraphrase. Why did you include it? It allows you to add transitional words to connect your paraphrases and your quotes. Green sentences should not repeat the prior sentence. Often you're going to have, for example, an explanation sentence after your topic sentence. And I noticed on the most recent essay that sometimes some of you are just restating the same thing your topic sentence said with maybe a little bit more information, but really you're not saying anything much new, and you don't want to repeat yourself. You want to add more specific details. Help give the reader a picture of what you're writing about. Here's an example. You'll see that here's a passage that has a red section, a green section, and a purple section. So what we have again is a topic sentence, an explanation, and then a paraphrase. I'm going to read through this. Here's the topic sentence. Traffic accidents that occur because of cell phone distractions have greatly increased as more people use cell phones. It is a common occurrence to now see drivers texting on their phones and trying to maneuver through traffic at the same time. You can see that that explains the topic sentence in more detail. Notice the next sentence begins in green. To illustrate, here's a transitional phrase to help you move into the part that has been paraphrased. So that's why the to illustrate is in green text. To illustrate, Nick Bunkley, author of the article Drivers on Cell Phones Kill Thousands, Snarl Traffic, states that 16% of the crashes and deaths were caused because the drivers were distracted. You'll notice that in this paraphrase, you include the author, the article title, and at the very end, in parentheses, is the page number on which that information is found in the source. The part in parentheses is called an in-text citation, and we'll be working with those more in another video. But for now, the reason there's only a page number there is because you included the author's name in the sentence. If the author's name is not in the sentence, then you include the last name of the author and the page number, much the way you would do a header with your last name and a page number in one of your essays. Furthermore, if there were no author for this, you would include the title and a page number, and you would put the title in quotation marks, just as it is here. However, look at that title. Drivers on cell phones kill thousands, snarl traffic. It's really long. You would abbreviate that title. So you might put just drivers and the page number. The reader will know from drivers to go and look on the last page of your essay, your works cited page, to see more information on that source, because your works cited page is going to have listed the full bibliographic citation for the article, and it's going to start with drivers, and the list is going to be in alphabetical order. So the reader will be able to find that source very easily. Once again, we're going to be talking a lot more about documentation later. Here are some things a green sentence does not do. It does not reintroduce or comment about the author. Your signal phrase already does that. A signal phrase is a phrase that like the one we just saw in the previous slide. Let me go back for a minute. Nick Bunkley, author of the article, that's a type of signal phrase, and we'll be talking more about those as well. For instance, don't do this. Ms. Porter is going to describe how students should exercise. If you've already mentioned Ms. Porter, you don't need to explain this comment. The green sentences are an opportunity for you to explain your previous sentence by giving examples, by providing more details, or by discussing the idea more. So I'm going to go over the next parts a little more quickly, but I want you to have a chance to practice this yourself on your own time. And so when you do this, you're going to want to take out a sheet of paper and try it yourself. You'll see the answers that I've done here, but this might help you as you get started to do your own green sentences. So we have 2 sentences here shortly, and you want to add a green sentence to explain and connect those two. Don't forget to include a transitional word or phrase from your list. So the 2 sentences are, Physical activity provides great benefits for students in school. And then the purple sentence below, which once again, that's a paraphrase. Sarah Porter, in her book, Let's Get Physical, describes how a student's lack of physical activities results in poor academic performance. You want to be able to connect those with a green sentence, your own writing, your idea. How would you connect that information? I don't want you to forget, I'm going to move this, how important transitions are in your writing. Your words create a logical flow from one entry to the next. And so you want to include words like meanwhile or afterward, in the same way, in conclusion, and a lot of other transitions that we've already used in class or that you might have learned about in ESL 52. Anytime you have a transition, it's going to be in green. So here's what I did to connect those two sentences 2 slides back. Physical activity provides great benefits for students in school. School days tend to be long and sometimes boring for students, resulting in a lack of energy both physically and mentally. For example, Sarah Porter, in her book, Let's Get Physical, describes how a student's lack of physical activities results in poor academic performance. Let's try another one. This time, I want you to try to connect a paraphrase with a quote. Let me see if I can move this down a little bit. See, whoops, got to go back. Move the frame down a little bit so you can see all of this. Okay. So we have a topic sentence. This is the same topic sentence, okay? And then we have the purple paraphrase. And this time I want you to think about how you connect the paraphrase to the quotation. And here's the quotation. Porter continues with the student's thoughts. I sit and think and sit and write and fall mentally asleep. If I could just get up and do a lap around the school, I know I could wake my mind up again. You can see this is not a quotation that you could easily have paraphrased. This is a time when you would need the person's words because she's actually commenting on how a student might think about the topic. I also want to point out up here, we've already connected these two, but I just want to point out that the topic sentence, after the topic sentence, you'll need at least one green sentence before you do the paraphrase. In other words, you're not going to have a red sentence followed by a purple sentence. It needs to be separated by something green. This is why we do this color coding, so that you can see where you need to add more information. If you have not included explanation sentences, green sentences, to help connect the topic sentence to the evidence, then you'll know where you need to add it. Okay, I'm going to show you how I connected that to a quote. And we'll start here with the paraphrase, because we've already talked about this part at the top. For example, Sarah Porter, in her book, Let's Get Physical, describes how students' lack of physical activities results in poor academic performance. And then here's my explanation. 7 hours of sitting, writing, and thinking makes students physically weary. Additionally, there's the transition. Miss Porter describes the attitude of one of her students.